Hello and welcome to my second video in my two-part series about how to homebrew a Wii or virtual Wii in 2020. Today we are going to be adding our homebrew apps to our SD card. You can use either an SD or an SDHC card for this, so any SD card that is 32 gigabytes or smaller will be acceptable. So first off, what you're going to want to do is put your SD card in your computer. You can see that mine already has some stuff in it. There's also a DCIM folder, but this one is actually from Nintendo. These are just Smash 4 screenshots. And then there's also this private folder, which has stuff that the Wii uses. It has titles, like stuff that you've copied to your SD card basically, or moved to your SD card inside the Wii menu. And then it has some stuff for the Wii U too. We don't need to worry about any of that, because all we're going to be doing is creating a new folder in the SD card root. And it needs to be called apps. I'm pretty sure it needs to be lowercase for the Homebrew channel to find the apps that you put inside. But so I would just make it lowercase to be safe. So anyway, let's go into this apps folder that we just made, since this is where the Homebrew channel is going to be looking for apps. And then you can see up here I have 4 apps that I want to run, which I just extracted from the zip files that I downloaded from their websites. So we'll do this Sis Check. So let's open that up. And you can see that there's 3 files in here. There's a boot.dol, an icon.ping, and a meta.xml. Those are the 3 files that every Homebrew channel app needs. Usually they also need, the boot.dol could also be a boot.elf. Either of those is fine, but it does need an icon.png and a meta.xml. Anyway, we can just go ahead and copy this entire syscheck HDE folder into our apps folder on our SD card. And we're just going to do this for all of our homebrew apps. So next is going to be Xizzy. This is an app that's going to let us look at our console keys. So go into the HBC. So this HBC folder is the one that you want. It has a boot.dol, a boot.elf, an icon.png, and a meta.xml. So you can just copy that here to your SD card. I would name it something other than HBC though, just so you know what it is. HBC stands for Homebrew Channel, but this app is actually called Xizzy mod. I think it's lowercase. I'm not sure. Anyway, you can call it whatever you want. It doesn't matter. It just needs to be a unique name. It can't be anything else that's already in this folder. And then the next tool we're going to want is Bluedump. Bluedump mod specifically. It's made by the same, it's been modified by the same person, so it also has this HBC folder. So we can just copy that. But again, we're going to want to rename anything that's just called HBC because that's not very descriptive. So this one's called Bluedump mod. But you can call it whatever you want. You could call it Zebra if you wanted to. The Homebrew channel wouldn't actually care. And then lastly, we have WiiMod Lite. And you can see we've got our files in there. So we're just going to copy this WiiMod Lite to apps. And now we have the 4 apps that we're going to use for our Wii or virtual Wii. So now I'm going to go ahead and eject this SD card. And I'm going to go ahead and put it in the Wii U. Once it's in there, you should see the SD card in the lower left change from gray to blue. Okay, you can see our SD card is blue now. That means we have one in. Now we're just going to go into the Homebrew channel. And we're going to get started. So before we do anything fun to our Wii or Virtual Wii, it's good to have a backup of things. So that's what we're going to do first, is we're just going to do some basic like health and safety kind of stuff. And then in a follow-up video, I will show you how to install Homebrew like games and that sort of thing. But first, we need to do all this stuff. So let's go into Sis Check first. This is just going to give us a general idea about what's installed on our system. It's not actually going to modify the system in any way, but it's just going to let us know what we're working with. This is all vanilla, by the way. This is straight from Nintendo. Not Sis Check, but everything that it's going to find is straight from Nintendo, because I have not installed any Homebrew on this Wii U before. So this is just going to show what your virtual Wii should look like if you haven't modified it yet. So it's just going to test for vulnerabilities. There shouldn't really be any, again, because I haven't specifically added any vulnerabilities into these iOSs. Sometimes if you have a lot of iOSs that you've added vulnerabilities to, it can cause system stability issues, especially on a virtual Wii. You never want to modify a official Nintendo used iOS. So yeah, let's display this report. So yeah, there we go. You can see I'm running, this is an American Wii. It has a drive date, and it's a virtual Wii. And you can see that I have all these vIOS. iOS stands for, it can mean multiple different things. I think the most likely is input-output system. It's basically the code that runs on the ARM processor of the Wii. But since this is a virtual Wii, there's just a V in front of it. But you can see that there are no patches in any of this. iOS 58 has USB 2.0. That's not actually a patch. That just means it has USB 2.0 support. Believe it or not, every other iOS on the Wii only has USB 1.1 support, which is very, very slow. We're in our, I think USB 4.0 just got released. But yeah, the Wii is a very old console. So we're lucky that iOS 58 even has USB 2.0. But that all looks good. Nothing has any patches, which it shouldn't, because like I said, we haven't patched anything. So we're just going to go back to the Homebrew channel by hitting the home button. So the next app we want to run is Xizzy. This is going to extract our Wii console keys, as it says. So we're just going to boot that right up. Now, once I hit A here, it is going to display the keys on the screen, and these keys are Nintendo copyrighted material, so I'm not going to show them on the stream. I'm just going to block them with that little white box there. But these could be useful to you if you ever don't follow my advice and do something that's dangerous to your Wii or virtual Wii. And having some of this information could potentially help you recover it, so that's the only reason we're dumping it. Well, there's actually one more reason, which I'll get to. But so let's dump these. So the only one I have uncovered is this boot1 hash. That's not actually a key. It just is a checksum of what your boot1 is. If you go to weebrew.org/wiki/boot1, you can see all the boot1 hashes for various versions of boot1 on a real Wii. They actually don't have what the virtual Wii one looks like, but well, surprise, this is what it looks like. It's all in hexadecimal, so it doesn't really mean anything, but this is just a way that you can check which version of boot1 you have, in case you're ever curious. The rest of the stuff on here, the other one that's going to be most useful to us in the future is the common key. This is something that every Wii console has, and it's the same on every Wii console. Um, but you need that key if you want to install essentially channels to your Wii, like homebrew channels. Not the homebrew channel, but like any homebrew software that you wish to install as a channel, um, you'll need that common key for. There are programs that can generate it, so you might not need it depending on what you're doing with it. But regardless, you should not share that online because it is Nintendo copyrighted material. The only purpose for this is so that we can install things on our own Wii that we legally own. But yeah, the rest of this is not super useful unless you're a real techie. um, but yeah, so we'll get out of Xizzy. Okay, and I can get rid of this white square now. White rectangle. Okay, the last thing we're going to do on this video, we're actually not going to do Wiimod Lite on this video, but we are going to do Blue Dump. Yet another Blue Dump mod, Yabdom, whatever you want to call it. So when you first boot into it, it's going to ask you what you want to do. You definitely want to do A for full hardware access. There's no reason not to do that, as long as you're running the latest Homebrew channel, which is 1.1.2, or 1.2, yeah, version 1.2, which is the one that I installed in my previous episode. Okay, so you can see a list of different categories for things that are installed on this Wii. So we're just going to go right into it. Unfortunately, this is the best dumping tool there is that I have been able to find. It's the most accurate one. But the downside is that you have to do everything manually. So this is going to take a little while. But we are going to dump each and everything that's on our virtual Wii, because if you do something stupid and brick your virtual Wii, this is really the only way to recover it, is if you have clean dumps of everything beforehand. A real Wii is a lot less sensitive to this kind of thing. You can just install a clean copy from the Nintendo servers and it's fine, but because a Wii U, basically the Wii U mode updates the virtual Wii mode, it's a lot more complicated and it's not very easy to just reinstall a fresh copy from the Nintendo servers. So we are just going to dump everything, so that way, just in case we do something stupid, we have a backup. So if you look in the menu, you can see that if you press 1 or Y, depending on if you're using a Wii remote or a classic controller or a GameCube controller, it would be Y. But for a Wii remote, which is what I'm using, it would just be 1. So we're going to hit 1. And then it's going to ask what you want to do. Do you want to back up the save data, restore the save data, or back up to WAD? Back up to WAD is the one we want. So we're just going to mouse over that and hit A. And then it's going to ask if you want to fake sign the ticket. We're going to say no. It's also going to ask about fake signing the TMD. We're also going to say no. By pressing B is how you say no. And the reason we don't want it to be fake signed is that on a virtual Wii, if you try to install one of these backups that you made of your system software, then if it's fake signed, it could potentially brick your virtual Wii. Again, virtual Wiis are a lot more sensitive to that kind of thing than real Wiis. So we just want to be extra careful and not fake sign anything. So we just backed up the system menu. We're going to hit 1 to back up iOS 9. And we're going to back up to WAD, and we're not going to fake sign anything. And this is just how it's going to be for a while. We're just going to keep on one by one dumping these. So while this is going, if I can do two things at once and not make a mistake, we can talk about why you might want to homebrew your Wii or Virtual Wii. Of course, not homebrewing anything is the safest option. You're not going to destroy anything that way. But there's also some stuff you can't do on a Wii or Virtual Wii unless it's been homebrewed. And I speedrun Zelda, specifically Majora's Mask. Don't fake sign. And you can speedrun Majora's Mask without modifying your Wii at all, as long as you've downloaded a legal copy from the Wii shop before it closed. However, there's some stuff you can't do. So there is a practice tool called KZ, and that's something that you can install into your Wii. It basically just patches your legal copy of the game and gives you some tools to practice with. Did I do iOS 21 already? I don't remember. If not, we're just going to do it again. So yeah, it'll patch the Virtual Console version that we're going to be dumping shortly, specifically so that we can patch it, to have these practice tools in it. Oops, I made a mistake. iOS 22, I hit A. See, I shouldn't be talking while I'm doing this, but then it would be very boring to watch if I wasn't talking. So dump options, back up to live, don't fake sign. Okay. So that'll give us, once we're done dumping everything, we'll do that. That'll be in a follow-up video. But that'll give us some tools that we can practice with. Like, it'll let us warp anywhere. It'll let us use cheats like infinite bombs. It'll let us view the memory of the game, which is pretty cool. That's helpful for setup hunting for a glitch called SRM, stale reference manipulation. So yeah, that's one thing you can do with it, and one thing we're going to do. And then another thing is, again, you can patch the copy of the game that you already have installed from the Wii Shop channel to be randomized. That's called a randomizer. And Majora's Mask has multiple randomizers. There's one that's active right now. And that can be really fun to play, because if you know the game very well, then it can make it fresh for you. Playing a game that you're very experienced with casually is not always the most fun, but if the item locations are randomized, it can definitely make it very interesting, even for an experienced player. Unfortunately, there's just no way around this. It's very slow. But yeah, so those are the main two things I'm going to want to do to this virtual Wii. But before we do that, again, we're just going to back everything up. Eventually, we're going to back up my my copy of the game that I purchased from the Wii Shop in like 2018. I purchased it right before it closed. Once we finish backing up all these iOSs. Let's see, dump options, back up to and then once we do that, we'll have our copy with which we can modify to either be a practice tool or a randomizer. Let's see, what am I on? I'm on iOS 53? Okay. I just wanted to see how far we had to go. Most of the iOSs only go up to 80. There's like a couple stubs that are higher than that, but we're getting close to being done with this part, which is nice. Okay, dump options. Okay, yeah, see, there we go. We're almost done. Although we still have more stuff to dump, but this will at least be all the system titles. I do wish that Blue Dump Mod was a little more automated with this kind of thing. Like if there was just like a dump everything, don't fake sign anything button, that would be great. So if anybody who's an experienced Wii and Wii U developer, well, just Wii really, and virtual Wii, I guess, would like to modify Blue Dump to be more automated, then please be my guest. You can fork it on GitHub. It's not my project, but it is on GitHub. It's by Dark Matter Core. I'll have a link in the description to where you can download it. Okay, there we go. Everything is backed up. So we're going to hit B to cancel / return to the parent directory. And then we have disk save data. I'm not really worried about any of this. This is just the save data from games that like disk games that I have. I'm not really worried about backing up the save data right now, so we'll skip on that. Although you can do that if you'd like. And then next we have installed channel titles. So these are all the Virtual Console games that I purchased back before the Wii shop closed. So I'm just going to start backing these up. Again, these are Nintendo copyrighted materials, so please be sure to not distribute them online. But if you simply want to patch one of them to either be a practice tool or a randomizer or something like that, then that's what this kind of thing is useful for. Or if you wanted to play it in Dolphin, which has a memory viewer, which can be helpful if you're trying to find glitches in games and that sort of thing. That's another reason why you might want to back up Virtual Console channels. But again, you can't distribute them in most countries. That would be illegal. Just dumping everything. Dump. Fortunately, I don't have too many games that I was able to buy before the Wii shop closed. It's a double-edged sword, right? Because there's more games that I would have liked to have had, but also it means that I don't have to spend quite as much time dumping them. And I actually don't know how big all these files are exactly, but I do know that with a 32 gigabyte SD card, you're going to be totally fine fitting all of them. I'm not sure if you had like a smaller SD card if they would all fit, but a lot of times the 32 gigabyte ones are cheaper anyway nowadays. If you had to, like, when you're doing Smash Stack, it needs to be 2 gigabytes or smaller. But like those ones can oftentimes be more expensive just because they're not made as much anymore. Nobody wants those. They're a relic of a bygone era back when the Wii was popular. This is just the Homebrew channel. We don't really need to back it up, but I'm just going to do it because I'm backing up all my channels right now. Okay, here's Ocarina of Time. This is the one you're going to want if you play Ocarina of Time, obviously, and you want to install GZ, which is the OOT practice tool, or OOT Randomizer, that one's pretty self-explanatory. And with either of those tools, you'll just be able to drag your WAD that you backed up from your VC version that you bought from the Wii shop, and it'll just patch it for you. And then that's what WiiMod Lite's going to be for in a later video. That's what we're going to use to install our patched WADs of In my case, I'm only going to do MM because that's what I play. I don't play OOT. Nice and slow process. We're almost done though. I'm not sure if there's anything else to really back up besides the system titles and the channel titles. Those are the two ones that are most interesting. Okay, here's Majora's Mask. This is the one that I care about. And if you, like me, are just a Majora's Mask player, then feel free, once you're done with the system titles, to just back up the Majora's Mask one instead of backing up all your games. And yeah, just to reiterate, I'm hitting B every time to the fake signing. There's really no need to fake sign. Ooh, I hit a button. I hope that'll be fine. I think it will. I think it'll be fine. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, fake signing is only if you're just installing it on your own Wii, which is what we're doing because we're good law-abiding citizens. There's the non-fake sign version will be just fine. And again, with a virtual Wii, if you try to install something that's fake signed, like at least a system title, installed channel titles are probably fine. But if you try and install a system title that is fake signed, it's probably not going to work, and it might even brick your vWiis. So I just would not recommend doing anything with fake signing unless you know what you're doing on a virtual Wii. And even on a real Wii, there's not really any reason to. Okay, so we're going to cancel. System channel titles, let's see. Oh, this is like the Wii Shop channel and stuff. Okay, so yeah, we'll go ahead and dump these, since these are system titles in a way, even if they're just channels. Oh no, I made a mistake. Okay, I accidentally hit fake sign, but it's okay. We're just going to dump it again without fake signing. It doesn't actually, this dumping app is smart enough to name the fake sign stuff with, like it tells you that it's fake signed in the file name. So we're just going to redump that one and not fake sign it. No, there we go. So yeah, I'll just delete that fake signed one off my SD card once I'm all done here. Wow, this is very long. This took like almost a half hour at this point. Okay, so dump the me channel, don't fix anything. And yeah, again, just the reason we're backing up the system stuff is to be safe rather than sorry. If you do something dangerous to your Wii, your virtual Wii specifically, without really knowing what you're doing, you could easily brick it, or maybe nothing quite so bad as that, but maybe you just parts of it don't work anymore. And having like a pristine, not fake signed backup of everything is the best way to recover from it. Okay, there we go. So back. Mario Kart Wii. I don't think I need that. DLC. Okay, yeah, I'll back up the DLC for Mega Man here. Oops, back it up. Believe it or not, the Wii actually had DLC. And then hidden channels. We'll just back these up too. It doesn't hurt to have backups. Alright, and with this, we should be done backing stuff up. Oh, actually, there's one more thing that we might want to do. If you have any channels on your SD card, you can also back them up using this app. It's just in a different menu, so I'll show you how to do that. Okay, there we go. So if you look at the menu, you can see that plus or R depending on if you're using a Wiimote or like a classic controller or a GameCube controller. On those, it would probably be R. But for Wiimote, we can just do plus to do content.bin conversion. And this shows the 4 things I have on my SD card that I downloaded from the Wii shop before it closed. So if you press A, it'll convert it to a WAD, so we're just going to do that. And we don't want to fake sign anything as per usual. And then, once that's all done, we'll finally be done here. If anyone has stuck through this long, I applaud you. This is a very long and boring and repetitive video, but that's just kind of the way backing up stuff using this app is, unfortunately. But it's very important. Again, this is the best way to recover if you do something to your Wii that, or Virtual Wii, specifically a Virtual Wii, that it really doesn't like. This is just going to be the best way for you to recover from it. So it's great to have these on hand. Okay, convert, don't fake sign anything. This is a lot slower. I think reading from the SD card is probably quite a bit slower than reading from the internal memory, is what I assume. But fortunately, there was only 4 things that couldn't fit on my system's internal memory. So it's not that huge of a problem. Okay, convert, don't fake sign anything. I guess while this is going, I can talk a little bit about some stuff not to do with the Virtual Wii. So a lot of the guides you'll find online tell you to patch vulnerabilities into various iOSs. The most common is 249. There's no reason to do that for our purposes because nowadays Wii Homebrew has advanced to the point where it can just patch apps that are aware of this capability, which is called AHB PROT, AHB Prot. Apps that are aware of this, which everything that I have suggested you put on your SD card, all 4 apps are aware of that capability. They can just patch the currently running iOS, which is usually iOS 58, in memory. So they just patch it from random access memory, and it doesn't actually make any modifications to your system, which is a much safer thing to do on a Virtual Wii. Let's see, return to main browser screen is plus. Back. Okay, there we go. So yep, we've done everything here, except for the disk stuff, which I don't really care about. Actually, maybe I should back up Mario Kart, unless it's in here. I don't think Mario Kart's in here. Okay, yeah, so I don't need to back up Mario Kart. That's just, yeah. Cool. So we should be done here. So we can just press home/start to exit. And we'll be back in the Homebrew channel. Thank you everyone so much for watching. This was a very long video. Most of it was just dumping things. But all of those are on our SD card now. And Those would be great for us in case we ever have an issue with our homebrew. If we have a homebrew that goes badly on our virtual Wii or Wii, we can easily recover. And yeah, that'll about do it. I'm gonna make a couple videos about how to patch that Majora's Mask WAD that we dumped from our Wii into a practice tool for Majora's Mask, and also into a randomizer for Majora's Mask. You can do both of those things. And then besides that, that's pretty much going to conclude this video series. Anybody who is not interested in Majora's Mask speedrunning or randomizer doesn't need to watch the subsequent videos in this series. If you're homebrewing your Wii for other purposes, this is everything you should need to know. This is just like the base stuff that everybody should do when they're homebrewing a Wii or a virtual Wii in 2020. And we'll get into the other stuff later. I might call it like an appendix or something like that. But yeah, we should be done with this video. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and I will get to work on uploading the tutorials for the practice tool and for the randomizer.